Derry Albinger, ABC News.
It all happens here. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by The Duck Hunter. On KVNU's monthly Speak to the Mayor program on Wednesday, Logan Mayor Holly Dane said many projects are coming together in downtown Logan. She said that fits into what she originally campaigned on, and it has been a long-time goal to revitalize the downtown.
I mean, we did Center Street. And then we also started talking about the center block development. And as we all know, that's evolved, and it didn't happen exactly the way we first proposed, but we have a great plaza underway.
Sure.
I think that sent a message to people that we do want people downtown. We are going to invest in downtown. We want housing downtown. We want things that will attract our citizens and benefit them downtown so they have a reason to come downtown and make it a vital, pedestrian-friendly, vibrant place.
Part of that is the new Mill Creek development going in on 100 West across from Logan High School. The mayor said the blighted area behind that project includes the ruins of the old Thatcher Mill.
And the developers that were doing Mill Creek were interested in also, expanding to that property right there in the middle of the block, but it was classified as a historic ruin and was part of the historic district. So we needed to go through the Historic Preservation Committee. And initially the thought was, well, could you utilize that? That would be ideal if you could make the ruins into part of your development.
Dane said, though, as the engineers investigated further, they found the ruins were just not sound structurally. So she said the plan now is to move the front section of the canal back to its original stream bed. And the developers promised the committee to use some of the stones from the ruins to memorialize the mill and tell its story with some sort of historical marker. KVNU News Time is 5:07. KVNU weather for tonight. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this evening. Overnight low in the low 40s. Chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon tomorrow. Partly cloudy, upper 60s. Precipitation chances at 50%. Slight chance of showers Friday night, and then a sunny day around 70 on Saturday. 70 has been our high today at 69 right now. KVNU weather brought to you by CBD7. They have the only retail formula proven effective by the National Institutes of Health. Order CBD7 online or look for the big pink CBD7 sign at 473 South Main in Logan. Learn about CBD and try their best for free.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duck Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter is probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duck Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duck Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
KVNU News Time is 5:08. The jury trial for a 65-year-old Perry man accused of threatening to kill a family in their Mendon home has been postponed. Charles Leff is being held in the Cache County Jail without bail since being arrested more than a year ago. Leff participated in a virtual hearing in First District Court Wednesday morning. He has been charged with 5 counts of attempted aggravated murder, a first-degree felony, 4 counts of possession of a firearm by a restricted person, and 2 counts of tampering with a witness. Also, he's been charged with 5 misdemeanors. Judge Brian Cannell said that COVID-19 restrictions on in-person hearings still prohibited the court from holding the upcoming trial for Leff, scheduled for June 10th. He expressed hope that conditions are improving and limitations will soon be lifted. He also noted that the court had ordered plexiglass shields for the courtroom and reached out to retired judges to assist with cases once the Utah State Supreme Court lifts the restrictions. And the airport grounds in a small town along the Arizona-Utah border just got bigger. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management recently transferred land to Colorado City that, along with private land, nearly doubles the size of the airport property. Officials say the transfer helps the town comply with FAA standards for safety and design. The public airport was built in the 1960s with dirt runways that were paved in 1991. The BLM says the transfer will benefit the larger community of about 10,000 as well as visitors who fly there for business and recreation. KVNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of paradise just 35 minutes from Logan at Maple Creek Ranch. Schedule your appointment online at maplecreekranch.net.
This is Sweetwater Window Cleaning. Summer is here, and so are all the activities. Why not have us take care of the window cleaning for you? I'm sure you've got plenty on your to-do list already. And let's face it, when you climb that dangerous ladder to clean your own windows, they seldom come out as good as you'd like. Let us give you the crystal clean professional results you want. Mention this ad, and we'll remove hard water for free.
Sweetwater Window Cleaning, 3636543, 3636543.
Here's Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
The way you water your lawn makes a big difference. Water restrictions and water costs have both increased over the years. Lawn Doctor is excited to introduce a new service that keeps your lawn green and healthy while watering less. One application of our new HydroGuard service reduces your water frequency by up to 1 day a week, saving you water and money.
Watering help, fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call Chad Norton, the lawn doctor, at 753-LAWN. Follow them on Facebook or go to LawnDoctorCacheValley.com.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, Hour 2 of today's show, Thursday, May 20th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio with us as well. Thanks again to Dan Johnson for joining us to recap yesterday's special session. $1.6 billion plus $1.1 billion for cities and counties divvied up by the state yesterday. You can see a full list. I posted it on our Facebook page. But if you missed that interview, of course, you can grab the podcast anytime you choose. Governor Spencer Cox held his monthly governor's news conference, and as is the tradition these days, when the monthly news conference falls at the time of the weekly coronavirus task force update, the governor goes it solo. So the governor had a lot of things to say today, talked about yesterday's special session. We'll get to that in a bit. Answered some questions from the media about where things go. He also discussed yesterday's extraordinary session, which was a circus, and we've got audio of all of that coming up in a bit. But the governor kicked things off today with an update from the coronavirus task force. As the governor told us last week, this task force will begin to wind down towards the end of this month into maybe mid-June. And that means these weekly press conferences will also stop, though the governor will still be back each month for the monthly news conference. So the governor said it's important to get some information out here as they wind down the task force and the Unified Command, turn things over more directly to the Utah Department of Health, who's been that department's been overseeing all of this for the last year plus. But Unified Command set up by Governor Herbert included a lot of other individuals. Things will transition back to just the Utah Department of Health, the governor said, for the remainder of the summer. And as long as things stay good, the Unified Command and the task force will not need to operate. So are things good? Well, the governor provided an update today from the task force, some of the numbers from the state of Utah, what they're seeing right now.
including and especially those above the age of 65. However, we want to note that the pandemic is still with us, and we are still seeing hospitalizations. We consider 72% of our ICU utilization to be high use. Anytime we're above 72%, we've been below 72%, right around there. We've ticked just up a little bit, and of course that's not just COVID. COVID is a small portion of that, but the COVID hospitalizations and ICU utilizations are really important. So we just want to make people aware that if you have not been vaccinated, that you should still wear a mask and exercise caution. Just something to note: if you look back around October, people who were ages 65 to 84 were the most hospitalized age group every week by a significant portion. But in April, and of course extending into May, it actually fell to third place. So that's the good news. It shows that vaccinations absolutely work. As soon as we opened up vaccinations to those over the age of 65, we saw a huge decrease. So they went from the most hospitalized group to the third most hospitalized group, behind people ages 45 to 64 and people ages 25 to 44. We have not seen vaccination rates in those age groups that match those above 65, and so we just want to continue to encourage people to get those vaccinations. We've now administered more than 2.4 million total doses of the vaccine, and around 55% of eligible people in Utah have gotten at least one dose, and we are continuing to see those numbers go up. In fact, the good news is we've seen vaccine numbers higher on days this week than we did the week before. Part of that has to do with the availability of children ages 12 to 15 to get the vaccine. We've certainly seen an influx of kids those age, including my own 14-year-old daughter, and so we're excited about that and encourage those young people to get their vaccines. I want to give a special shout out to Summit County, which has the highest number of eligible people vaccinated at 66% of people ages 12 and older. Nationally, speaking of those 12 to 15-year-olds, approximately 4% have received at least one dose. In Utah, we are leading the nation in that percentage at 9% that have received at least one dose. So almost that's right about 20,000 kids ages 12 to 15 have received that dose. It is interesting to note, as I've been able to talk to some of the vaccination clinics across the state, while they have seen an influx of 12 to 15, they also saw an increase in people in older age groups coming in to get their first doses. So that was good news to see that more and more people were getting out over the past week.
Governor Cox joked as he moved into the 7-day averages, something that Dr. Angela Dunn, the state epidemiologist throughout the last year, now the director of the Salt Lake County Department of Health, would provide these updates. Governor Cox joked that he was not as good at it as she was, but he said, I'm going to give it a shot. And he did.
Our rolling 7-day average for positive cases is 312 per day. So we're excited. Our goal was always to get back down under 400, and soon we expect to be under 300. That compares to a rolling average last week of 328. So we're continuing to see those numbers come down. Just by way of note, the last time we were this low in our 7-day rolling average was June 5th of last year. So it's almost been a full year since we had a rolling average. We were at 324 on June 5th of last year.
The governor also detailed the plan for the coming months. If you've been following this closely, you know that with 55% eligible of eligible Utahns having received at least one dose of a vaccine, that means we are about 15% away from the target. The target throughout has been 70% of the population of the state vaccinated. We can officially call the pandemic over. The governor said that he's confident. He had predicted towards the first of this year, when vaccines first started rolling out, that Utah would be able to hit that 74% by mid-June, just under a month from now. And the governor said that with the numbers they're seeing from kids, 20,000 so far, just in a week, since the CDC and FDA approved the use of the Pfizer vaccine for those 12 to 16. And we were already vaccinating 16 and up here in the state. Anyone that wants a vaccine is eligible at this point. The governor said, from the numbers they're seeing, knowing that this 12 to 16-year-old population in Utah is a huge percentage of the population who couldn't get a vaccine up until last week, he said he's confident that the plan they laid out, the strategy they laid out, he, Dr. Angela Dunn, the task force at large, he's confident that we're still on track to hit that 70% vaccination rate by mid-June, which means, again, at that point, Utah declares the pandemic officially over. How this contrasts with United States numbers, President Biden and the White House task force, they're predicting just a couple of weeks after that for the country at large. I haven't heard an update on that in a couple of weeks. I'm sure there is one out there, but the last I'd heard, they said that things were headed for, as the president said, a very normal July 4th weekend for everyone, which will be welcome news. It's starting to feel very normal out there. I'm still seeing a lot of mask wearing. The governor mentioned that today in his briefing as well. He said when it comes to mask wearing, they're encouraging people who haven't been vaccinated to continue to do so. They're also encouraging people that if you're going to do something, there's going to be a large crowd, even if you have been vaccinated and you just want to take that extra step of caution for those around you, feel free to keep wearing those masks. Finally, the governor said he wanted to reiterate a message he's hit several times after many incidents here in Utah over the last couple of weeks. The governor said he expects all Utahns, being a business-friendly state and a state that the governor said has high respect for private property, to respect businesses who choose to keep their mask mandate in place. The governor cited a couple of incidents at grocery stores and even one at a convenience store in, I believe, Provo, where the owners and operators of this private business had decided that a mask mandate was something they were going to keep in place, and some quote-unquote adults, the governor said, went and pitched a fit. The governor said, respect business owners and private property owners. If they have a sign that says wear a mask, it's really not hard to do, the governor said. So you can watch this full press conference on the governor's Facebook page, and I've linked to it on our own as well. Again, the update from the governor there, 55% of eligible Utahns have received at least one dose. The target goal is 70%. We're 15% away. Governor thinks we'll still hit that by mid-June, as he set out as a goal in January. And 20,000 kids aged 12 to 16 have had at least their first dose. Well, they can only have their first dose at this point since the Pfizer vaccine was approved for that age group just last week. That's huge. So the governor said that from here on out, the task force will focus on getting vaccines out to multicultural communities, communities that oftentimes don't get the message or just aren't aware of how to go about getting a vaccine. And he encouraged people still to sign up for something the state launched 2 weeks ago, the Sponsor a Vaccine Clinic effort by the task force. You can do that at coronavirus.utah.gov. Many business owners have used this as kind of some free marketing for them. They've volunteered to be the site of a vaccination clinic. The state brings all the supplies, the business supplies the location and gets word out, and then you just invite the whole community around your business or your nonprofit's location or your neighborhood at a park, things like that. The governor said a park had been used in American Fork just last week for a vaccination clinic that in the end close to 380 people were vaccinated at this park barbecue event that someone just wanted to do for the neighborhood. So you can sign up for one of those events. They're free, and the state is currently doing everything they can to get to the proposed clinic events as fast as possible, but he said expect it to be about 2 weeks before the state can actually get something set up. But you can go in, fill out the information and your proposal for a vaccination clinic in your neighborhood, at your business, at your nonprofit's location, whatever it is, at coronavirus.utah.gov. More from Governor Spencer Cox's monthly news conference. He addressed yesterday's special session and spent even more time on yesterday's extraordinary session, the one that followed in the afternoon, with two resolutions making a lot of headlines here in Utah. What the governor had to say about all that coming up in just a bit here on KVN News for the People.
The annual Greater Cache Valley Economic Summit, brought to you by the Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Alliance, is scheduled for Thursday, June 3rd at the Riverwoods Conference Center. They are excited to announce Lieutenant Governor of Utah, Deidre Henderson, as keynote speaker. You'll also learn about important topics like the state of our economy, where we are and where we're going, plus engaging breakout sessions and lunch. Register today at cachechamber.com. It's the annual Greater Cache Valley Economic Summit, Thursday, June 3rd at Riverwoods Conference Center.
Visionary Homes would like to introduce you to Archibald Estates, a brand new community in Tremonton, with townhomes starting in the low 200s, single family and active adult homes starting in the upper 200s. You're sure to find the perfect home for you and your family. Just minutes away from schools, parks, golfing, restaurants, and grocery, yet tucked in the lush green fields of Tremonton. Visionary Homes understands what you want in a home. Visit buildwithvisionary.com to learn more about Archibald Estates in Tremonton. Visionary Homes, built for living, built for you.
You've been putting up with a dirty, dusty wood stove for years. Why haven't you changed it? Go to Advanced Fireplace and Stove in Logan. Look through their showroom for ideas on Quadra-Fire pellet and wood stoves and Heat and Glow gas fireplaces. They have several demos in place so you can see firsthand how your project will look. And you can trust the pros at Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They'll do the job right. Advanced Fireplace and Stove. 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. We've got more highlights from the governor's monthly news conference we'll be getting to in a bit. But I did want to talk about this a little as well. This was another warning. It seems like there's... was it last week? It doesn't matter. It seems like once a week we're getting one of these, but a warning from the state. Once again, if you're planning to head south, if you're headed to the southern part of Utah, especially southwestern Utah, from St. George through the Grand Escalante National Monument, National Weather Service basically saying high wind warnings again, advisories in effect for central and southern Utah. Basically, if I had to paraphrase this warning, the entire southern half of the state is a tinderbox. You throw a bunch of wind on top of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like you think it's bad here. It's even worse down there.
And I guess winds are expected to be 30 to 40 miles per hour in the southern part of the state, with gusts up to 65. And the forecast for West Millard and Juab counties from noon on Friday to 9 p.m., noon today until 9 p.m. Friday is 20 to 30 mile per hour winds throughout, with gusts up to 50. And gusts up to 50 expected in the St. George, Kanab, Escalante, Price, and Bryce Canyon areas from noon today until 9 p.m. tomorrow. This is not good. National Weather Service said the combination of strong winds and low humidity will once again create a critical fire weather condition for the southern part of Utah. So again, if you're headed south, if you have some weekend plans, I know a lot of folks do. In fact, I have some friends who are headed down to the Escalante area. And again, National Weather Service advising Utahns, those, of course, in these affected areas, to bring loose objects, lawn furniture, etc. inside. That's how high the winds are going to be. But they're also advising everyone, those who live in southwestern Utah and southeastern Utah, portions of it at least, and those planning to travel there, that the winds expected to continue throughout today into Friday, and with very windy conditions across central and southern Utah. They are elevating fire conditions to critical fire weather conditions, the actual designation of that. Again, due to windy conditions, and some of these might linger into the southeastern portion of Utah into Saturday. And so that same warning will likely be extended into the Moab and Grand County area before the end of day tomorrow. So here, it seems like this pattern played out again last weekend, Bill, but kind of the same thing here in northern Utah. Temperature's going to dip a bit, and chance of showers and thunderstorms. Same thing as last weekend. So very different forecast for northern Utah. And for those curious, most of the northern part of the state is currently in a low fire danger category. There are some hot spots as you head, Box Elder County and out east or west. But most of the canyons around here, the fire danger is low. Expect that to change pretty quickly.
Yeah, because we really haven't gotten that much. We haven't received that much precipitation. I mean, we had Sunday? We had, a little thunderstorm, and I think we picked up less than 0.2 of an inch here at the station. I mean, it came down fast, but it wasn't a whole lot. But
yeah,
I guess I don't know. Maybe some other places got a little bit more rain out of that.
It's just it's drying out quickly. But again, northern Utah, maybe some chances of rain, slightly cooler temperatures. Southern Utah, though, if you're headed that direction, fire danger very high, according to the National Weather Service. Again, some action items they're recommending for local residents in southwestern Utah and probably by Saturday, southeastern Utah, as the winds shift and move. The winds are going to be so high, they're asking people to bring loose objects indoors and be prepared in the event of a power outage. That's how high these winds are going to get. But the overall concern, of course, is the potential for any mishap when it comes to wildfire. Even if it's just a cigarette tossed carelessly out a car window on the freeway down there, if the winds are that high, you could see 30% of the state on fire before the end of the day. So a lot of concern down there. National Weather Service, again, recommending or warning with high winds, very dry conditions, that the entire southwestern portion of Utah is in a critical fire danger. Big red flag warning sent up today. And again, that will probably shift into the Grand County, Moab area by Saturday, they're thinking. So if you're headed south from Cache Valley for some weekend fun, be aware fire danger is extremely high. Well, here in the north, same as last weekend, like I said, some potential thunderstorms, a little rain, not much, but some. And there's a map. People who want to see this, if you want to track this, if you're headed out into the canyons here in northern Utah and you're curious whether a fire is allowed, the general rule, good rule, is to only have a fire in a developed, an actual fire pit, not through a bunch of rocks in a circle fire pit.
Yeah, enclosed.
Yeah, enclosed.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that they're very careful about where they're placed at campgrounds throughout the canyons around here. So that's a good rule of thumb generally. Like I say, the map for the state as far as fire danger goes here in northern Utah, showing most areas around us where you might be headed out to camp and do other things this weekend are in a low fire danger category. But just keep in mind that that's probably going to change soon. Low does not mean that there is not a risk of setting fire and having it turn into a very large wildfire. So keep an eye on that, but enjoy some cooler temperatures and a few thunder showers here in northern Utah, while the southern half of the state is trying carefully not to set itself on fire. Pretty dry and windy down there this weekend, the National Weather Service is saying. So, all right. Wanted to get that out for those who have weekend plans if you're headed south. On the other side, we'll get back to Governor Cox's monthly news conference. Starting the hour, you heard the governor's remarks and some answers to questions from the media about the pandemic, COVID-19 vaccination rates, whether we're still on track for that mid-June target of 70% vaccination rate here in Utah, which would mean the official end of the COVID-19 pandemic, at least here. On the other side, what the governor had to say about yesterday's special session and extraordinary session. Governor Cox called the special session. We discussed this with Representative Dan Johnson in Hour 1, where the money went from these federal COVID-19 relief funds More than $2 billion divvied up by the state has to be spent over the next 3 years. That was the purpose of Governor Cox calling the special session. Lawmakers wanted him to add 2 other items that are really nothing to do with Utah. These are national debates over some very politically charged, hot-button issues. The governor said, no, we're doing the business of the state in this special session. Lawmakers, in a first move like this ever, the last time they actually used the extraordinary session option was to impeach the attorney general. Yesterday, they used it to debate 2 resolutions that change nothing and, again, are national issues, not even germane to Utah policy. Governor Cox responded to some of those decisions by legislative leaders yesterday in their self-designated extraordinary session that followed the special session called by the governor. What Governor Cox had to say on the other side of these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:35. The news is brought to you by CBD7. A 27-year-old Logan man convicted of raping a 14-year-old girl last year has confessed to continuing to have a sexual relationship with her. Frederick Guadarrama accepted a plea deal and will now await sentencing. Guadarrama participated in a virtual hearing in First District Court Wednesday morning, appearing by web conference from the Cache County Jail. He pleaded guilty to unlawful sexual activity with a minor, a third-degree felony. In July 2017, Guadarrama raped the then 14-year-old girl while he was on leave from the military and visiting Cache County. The girl became pregnant and later gave birth. When detectives interviewed Guadarrama, he denied ever having sex with the juvenile, but admitted that he had been alone with her when he was home on leave. He later consented to taking a DNA test, which showed he was the baby's biological father. In April 2019, Guadarrama was sentenced to 120 days in jail and ordered to have no contact with the victim after he had pleaded no contest to one count of unlawful sexual activity with a minor, a third-degree felony. Defense attorney Kelly Booth had claimed the defendant suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and was so drunk on the night of the crime he couldn't remember what happened. In August 2020, Guadarrama was arrested again after prosecutors learned he was continuing to have a sexual relationship with the same underage girl. Guadarrama is being held without bail. He could face up to 5 years in prison. KVNU News Time is 5:37.
Trouble with pain, sleep, or anxiety? Want better health? Try CBD7, the CBD experts. You simply can't get this water-soluble CBD at grocery, convenience, or health food stores. Water-soluble CBD7 absorbs 15 times better and tastes great. CBD7 has the only clinically proven formula with real measurable results. Many feel better in minutes. CBD7 is not a drug and has no side effects. Other CBDs just can't do all that. Visit CBD7 today. Learn about CBD and try our best for free.
KVNU News Time is 5:38. A search for 2 little girls ended successfully Thursday after multiple law enforcement agencies spent the afternoon looking for them. Cache County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Matt Bilodeau said the 8 and 9-year-old girls were reported missing from White Pine Elementary School around 12:50 p.m. The school's faculty notified law enforcement immediately, who responded to the scene and set up a perimeter. Family and school staff were able to provide a clothing description of what the girls were wearing. Sheriff's Lieutenant Doyle Peck said the girls reportedly left the school to go on a planned adventure. Teachers had overheard the juveniles talking about their idea and reported seeing them put extra food in their pockets at lunchtime. Throughout the afternoon, additional crews from neighboring law enforcement agencies assisted deputies looking for the girls. They were assisted by search and rescue teams and drones. Dispatch operators conducted a reverse 911 call and sent out a description of the missing juveniles to Richmond City residents. Around 4:30 p.m., a woman called 911 reporting the girls were seen running along a ditch bank west of Pepperidge Farms. Deputies responded to the area, located the juveniles about 2.5 miles from school. Peck said the girls were unharmed and likely didn't realize the alarm they had caused their family and the community.
We had easily 45 people out here all coming together to try to find them, maybe even more. I mean, we had deputies, we had North Park Agency, you had Logan City, North Park, Cache County, Search and Rescue, Victims Advocates. This one really was we pulled the stops out on this one just to get them found quick.
Deputies transferred the girls back to the school where they were reunited with their families. KVNU weather for tonight. Slight chance of showers and maybe a thunderstorm this evening. Overnight low in the low 40s. Pretty good chance of showers and storms by afternoon on Friday. 50% chance, and the high temperature in the upper 60s. It's been to 70 at 67 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Northern Steel Building. Steel is stronger, more flexible, and more dependable than wood, masonry, and concrete. Plus, steel is often less expensive. See their work online at northernsteelbuilding.com. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Attention homeowners! You may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation has been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News, the latest developments and analysis, plus the lower income workers gaining some leverage after getting clobbered by government lockdowns. Also, the surge in U.S. travel is underway, at least for airlines, but it's not the case for hotels. We'll tell you what to expect. And don't spend your tax refund too soon. Find out how delayed the IRS still is. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Yesterday, we discussed on the show the special session and the extraordinary session. We spoke with Representative Dan Johnson in Hour 1 about the special session, where lawmakers were divvying up billions of dollars in federal COVID-19 aid money and how they spent it. You can see the list on our Facebook page. It's basically going into buckets or funds right now, slush funds, even if you want to use a negative term, and then that money will be doled out over the next 2 years. Via grants, via direct appropriations, a lot of different ways. Money for infrastructure, money for expanding broadband access, money for education. It was used in many, many different ways and will begin to be spent almost immediately. Following that session, the legislature gavelled out and went to lunch and came back and then gavelled themselves back in, something they now have the power to do. I don't know why we gave them that power via a constitutional amendment on the ballot in 2018, nonetheless. Now they can call themselves into a special session. It didn't take them long to abuse this, and yesterday was an example of that. Governor Cox had said that as far as the special session goes, he wasn't interested in the legislature doing any other business. He says, we're here for this federal aid money to decide where it goes, how it can best be invested in the state. That's what we're going to focus on. All of these other political issues we'll leave for another day. Well, the legislature, or some lawmakers, I guess, managed to convince legislative leaders that was just an affront. And so they called their own extraordinary session, something they haven't done since they impeached the attorney general, and they debated two resolutions that really in the end mean nothing. They are not law. They have no teeth. They don't cause anything to happen. It's basically the legislature saying, this is our opinion, or at least the majority's opinion. A very strange thing to spend taxpayer dollars and lawmaker time on. So what was so important? Well, one was a resolution declaring Utah a Second Amendment sanctuary state. Again, this resolution doesn't change anything. It doesn't make anything happen. It's just saying this is what we think. The second one, or the first one debated really, was a resolution banning the teaching of critical race theory in Utah's K through 12 schools, something even the sponsor of the bill acknowledged isn't happening and that there is no hint of having happened in the future. And also, Senator Lincoln Fillmore said during his introduction of this resolution, he admitted he doesn't really know what critical race theory is. So how did all this happen? Well, it's a national fervor, and that's what was so disappointing about this. It's the continued nationalization of state legislatures, and our own legislative leadership just walked right into it yesterday, unfortunately. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with them, this is not state business. This is political business, and it just serves that purpose. And it's unfortunate to see state legislatures, and this isn't specific to Republican majorities in legislatures. This is happening in blue states, too, and it's really unfortunate. So during the governor's monthly news conference today, he was asked, why did you refuse to put these things in the special session? How do you feel about lawmakers calling themselves into extraordinary session to debate them anyway?
We do have 3 branches of government in this state, and every branch has the opportunity and ability to speak for themselves. And I think it's perfectly fine and important for the legislature to have those opportunities. They actually did what I asked them to do. I issued a lengthy letter, and I hope those that are interested in these topics will take the opportunity to read that. And in that letter, I explained why I thought it was important on these issues to do them in the right way before we passed a bill. That we, and again, this is the Utah way. We bring people together. We work through these hard issues. We listen to all voices, and then we try to make an appropriate and rational and measured decision. And if you actually read the resolutions, that's exactly what they did. In my letter, I said we need to give the school board an opportunity. It's their constitutional duty, first of all, and also something that they're working hard on. And I've had conversations with Chair Huntsman. I've had conversations with Superintendent Dixon, and they are doing it the right way. And I'm very impressed with what they're doing. And if you look at those resolutions, that's basically all they did was to say, hey, we want to work on this. We have some concerns. I thought it was interesting, and I would encourage people to listen to the conversation or the debate, as it were, in the Senate, where I thought there was some very thoughtful debate. I thought Senator Fillmore did a great job of saying, no one really knows what critical race theory is. If you ask 50 different people, and I have, that are concerned about it, they will give you 50 different answers as to what it is. And so those definitions really matter. It's also hard for people to point to any evidence of where it's being taught in our schools. And so the school board and the superintendent have told me that anytime there has been a report of something that is being taught, they have gone and investigated those reports, as have superintendents. It is not part of the curriculum, and they have not been able to find any evidence that it is being taught. That being said, we know that there is pressure in some circles, and there is definitely concern in circles around this, and so they are working towards definitions, making sure that we're teaching the curriculum as it's supposed to be taught, but also, just as importantly, making sure we're not avoiding the hard conversations about our history. We live in the greatest nation in the history of the world, and we have so much to be proud of, and we have to teach those things, and we should teach those things. We've also made some very serious mistakes in our past. We shouldn't shy away from those things. Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and we need to make sure that our kids, our school kids, that they learn the ugly parts of our history as well.
Last year, state and community leaders signed on to the Utah Compact on Racial Equity, and part of that includes acknowledging that racism isn't just an individual character flaw, but also a systemic issue. So how do you think the resolution from the legislature squares with Utah's commitment to the compact?
Well, I don't think there's anything in that resolution that disagrees with the compact in any way, and that's what's important. And I think so much gets lost in these debates, and there's just no room for nuance anymore at all. And I hate to see that. Again, it is important to understand our history, and it's very important to examine where we are. There's no question that racism didn't just disappear in the 60s because of the civil rights movement. I've encouraged many times people to sit down and talk to people, learn from people that have a different life experience than we have, and to try to understand what is happening there. This is one of the reasons that our administration has been so committed to help with equity in education. Look, every child should have the same opportunity as every other child, and we are committed to that. And by the way, that includes not just our communities of color, but our kids in rural Utah as well, where they don't have the same opportunities because we don't have the same funding mechanisms in some of our schools, our lower income communities.
And finally, Governor Cox took a question going back to the pandemic about the constant updating of guidelines from the CDC, from state and county departments of health. The question was, are they worried in the final few months of the pandemic, with variants being a large concern, variants that, if we get unlucky, one might pop up that can even beat the vaccines and we have to start all over. The question was, is there concern that this is confusing for people? What are the official recommendations for staying healthy and safe?
There's no confusion with the CDC, what the CDC said. Now, those epidemiologists may have different opinions and disagree with the CDC, but that's not the same as confusion on the part of what the CDC has said. So, it's amazing to me that the people who said trust the science are now not trusting the science, and that's fine. Again, it shows that the one ugly side of partisanship has been pointed out ad nauseum, but now we're seeing the other side of the partisanship in the pandemic, where people disagree with the science behind this. Again, the science is very clear. We're seeing incredibly low amounts of breakthrough cases, and whenever there are breakthrough cases, they're almost always asymptomatic, or no symptoms, or very mild symptoms without hospitalization or death. And so, again, whether you trust the person next to you or not, I don't care, and it doesn't matter if you've been fully vaccinated. So if you haven't been fully vaccinated, then I would be really nervous, and I would exercise caution.
The governor there referring to this new debate over the CDC recommending or not recommending, rather, mask wearing if you've been vaccinated in most cases. And as he points out, interestingly enough, the same people who have been very critical of those who refuse to wear masks, despite the fact that that's what science recommended, are now the ones questioning the science when the science says go ahead, if you've been vaccinated at least, and take the masks off. What funny times we live in, huh? If you'd like to watch the full news conference, Governor's monthly news conference, you can do so via his Facebook page. Just search for Spencer J. Cox, Gov. Spencer J. Cox on Facebook. I've linked to it on our own Facebook page, and we'll be back with more of KVN News for the People right after this.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
I've constantly been fighting with my weight and thyroid issues for more than 25 years, and none of the doctors in 25 years have ever been able to explain to me what Hashimoto's is, what it means to me, and how to manage it.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
Today, my life is like the minute I get out of bed, I hit the ground running. I'm ready to go. I want to see what today is going to bring, what adventures I'm going to have without pain and with all the energy to do everything that I want to do.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively, and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life. With our satisfaction guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan. The
This is Mike Miller with Cache Valley Bank. We love supporting local businesses and are proud to support the new Center Street Market in downtown Logan every Wednesday during the summer. The market opens at 8 a.m. and all of the merchants will be local businesses from right here in Cache Valley. Cache Valley Bank invites everyone to the Center Street Market in downtown Logan. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News, the latest developments and analysis, plus the lower-income workers gaining some leverage after getting clobbered by government lockdowns. Also, the surge in U.S. travel is underway, at least for airlines, but it's not the case for hotels. We'll tell you what to expect. And don't spend your tax refund too soon. Find out how delayed the IRS still is. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Highlights there before the break from Governor Cox's monthly news conference. Again, if you'd like to watch, listen, whatever, either one are an option, to the full monthly news conference, it's available on the governor's Facebook page. Just simply search for Gov Spencer J. Cox on Facebook. You'll find that easily. And this was, again, a monthly news conference, not just the Coronavirus Task Force update, a combination of the two. So it ran just over an hour. But some great stuff there. If you've got questions about, where we're at as a state, what the policy and recommendations going forward over the next month and a half are going to be as far as the pandemic. If you're curious about the governor's perspective on some of the legislative issues that are coming up, a lot of that was discussed in a pretty broad-ranging press conference. So I think it's cool the governor does these. We should mention as well that they have started doing something new. The governor of Utah, going back to at least Huntsman, has always done a monthly thing called Speak to the Governor. The problem is they would do that out of a certain location, and it wasn't always friendly to the rural areas. So Governor Cox, making good on his campaign promises to better represent and engage with rural areas, has actually started doing this sort of a version of the monthly news conference, but in a touring style. So they're going out into rural communities and reaching out to media in those local markets and saying, hey, do you want to be the host of this month's monthly visit with the governor, where people can send questions in. We'll actually be up to do that on, it'd be the second week of June. So second week of June, we'll actually be hosting the governor's touring monthly news conference for rural areas. And I point that out, not just kind of toot our own horn, because, yeah, we're pretty good. But really, I think it's really cool the governor's doing this, because things have been, and I cut him some slack, former governors, because I think it was a bit justified. It just isn't anymore. But things have been so Wasatch Front and Salt Lake County and Utah County focused in Utah when it comes to the legislature, when it comes to the administrative branch. Just everything has been so focused on, because there was just massive growth.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, that's where the majority, 70% of the population in Utah resides, between Ogden and Provo.
Sure. And that will remain the case even after the growth doubles in places like Cache Valley. Most of the people are always going to live in the urban center of the state. And that's just going to be a fact of life. But there are these issues out in rural areas that just weren't getting, Cache Valley lawmakers, representatives from, rural areas in southern and eastern Utah, they had to scramble so hard to get the same amount of time and attention for issues happening in their neck of the woods compared to, those along the Wasatch Front or in Salt Lake County. And again, as Bill said, this was justified. There will always be a bit of an imbalance because you'll always have more people, which means more issues, more problems in these urban areas. But for the governor to go so out of his way as Governor Cox has to make sure that rural areas are at least getting his ear on a regular basis, I think it's very cool. And hopefully it leads to some good things. Hopefully it's not just lip service or ear service, I guess you'd say. But yeah, it's nice to see that. So regardless of, all the times that I'm probably going to want to yell at him, disagree with him, wish he'd made a different decision as a governor, this is at least one time to say, good call. So Governor Cox really making sure rural areas are included and engaged in all this. With that in mind, send us your questions. Again, we'll be hosting the governor's touring monthly news event the second week of June. So you've got plenty of time to think about it. What would you like us to ask the governor? KVNUFTP@gmail.com. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.